The biggest problem to me with that genre is that there was so much riff salad. And listen, I love salad. I eat salad all the time, but I do not eat riff salad. No riff salad for this guy. What's up, everybody? I'm Finn McKenty. This is the Punk Rock MBA, and welcome back to my Bands That Should Have Been Bigger series, where, as you might guess from the name, I talk about bands that I think should have been bigger. For each one of these bands, I talk a little bit about who they are, why I think they had potential to be bigger, and then I do my best at guessing why they did not become bigger. And as I've been doing lately, I must plug my Instagram because I've been putting a lot more time and energy into that. I've been posting a lot more stuff on there. So if you like this video or any of my other videos, please, I would love it if you give me a follow over there. There's a link in the description. And with that out of the way, let's get into it.
Baby, it's those things you do that make me think I'm falling for you. Hey there, girl, you got me going again. Don't bother with the other boys, I'm better than them.
Band number 1, Fight Fair. I have a lot to say about this band for 2 reasons. First of all, because I think they're awesome. Second, because I've known these guys for like 10 years now, which is scary because I think of Fight Fair as a newer band, but actually they're 15 years old and I've known them for a decade because time flies and it's scary. But yeah, I've known these guys for a long time. I consider them very good friends. Here's a shirt I designed for them back in 2010, I think, when they were on Warped Tour. You may remember them as one of the best easycore bands of kind of that first wave. I think of easycore as basically having like 2 main eras of easycore, basically before Homesick and after Homesick, because I think that was the album that made everyone go, oh, you can do pop punk with breakdowns? That's a great idea, let's do that. And in my opinion, Settle the Score and their other album, California Kicks, but I think especially Settle the Score, really holds up as one of the best albums in that genre. I'm gonna play a couple clips here because if you like easycore and you're not listening to Fight Fair, then you are definitely missing out. A couple of my favorite songs are For the Win.
It's time to give up, we're here to destroy you, this is for the win.
Settle the Score.
You can, then we will show you how. Never is think about some research. Fucking show auditory best match.
And of course, pop rocks. So in hindsight, now that we're 10 years after the fact, I would actually consider them in the top 3 easycore bands of all time. A Day to Remember, of course, being number 1, City Lights and Fight Fair as the number 2 and 3 in that spot. And I hate saying that because that is going to stroke Alex's already enormous ego, but hey, it's the truth. They were a great band. The way I discovered this band, actually, I wrote for somethingawful.com a few times. I did this thing where the guy over there sent me some videos to react to on their blog, and I did the same for him. He sent me the video for Pop Rocks intending for me to hate it, but of course, as you would expect, I actually loved it. I thought it was just a catchy pop punk kind of song, but then somebody told me actually that they were like DIY hardcore kids, and I was like, wait, what? The Pop Rocks band? They're hardcore kids? And so I started to dig a little bit deeper, and he was right. Like this part from California Kicks.
It's at the Shake Cafe, check out Faustin's show. Nothing's hoop, that's okay, cause my record's bone. Just check my trade list on VLE.
So as soon as I found all that out, I knew that these guys were on another level. I knew that I had to get to know them, so I interviewed Alex for Substream magazine I wrote for at the time, and then we ended up being friends, a choice which I sometimes regret because Alex is a very strange, off-putting person. They ended up getting on Warped Tour 2010, got, I think, a pretty good amount of press and pretty good amount of buzz for California Kicks, and I thought, okay, we're off to the races. Fight Fair is gonna be the next Boys Like Girls or something. But it didn't happen, it just kind of fizzled. I was bummed, but actually in hindsight, it's pretty clear, I think, why it happened. First of all, they went like full troll on California Kicks. They basically turned themselves into like a joke band. So they had like the 50s rock and roll song where Alex is like, this is the big man speaking.
Hello, baby. Yeah, this is the big man speaking. You know.
And on Settle the Score, they kind of pretended to be these like preppy jock kind of guys from San Diego, even though in reality, they're a bunch of Star Trek nerds from the Bay Area who have never been surfing in their lives. They had these ridiculous songs on that album like Sexy Fancy Money, and just kind of think they took the joke a little too far. So Warped Tour 2010, I think, was their peak. And then right after that, they kind of lost some steam. Artery dropped them. They did put out one other EP, which was a little bit more like punk and less pop punk. I personally didn't like it that much. It just kind of came and went, and then they broke up and just sort of went their separate ways. Alex, the singer, works for one of the big talent agencies in Hollywood. I don't remember if it's CAA or WME, but he's in Hollywood now doing his thing, working on Star Trek movies like he always wanted to. And he still sends me weird, annoying pictures of him flexing in the mirror at the gym. Evan, the guitarist who wrote most of the songs, is now doing freelance video stuff. I actually just worked with him on a project. And lastly, Josh Reef, the original drummer, is now a real estate agent in San Diego. I hadn't talked to him for a long time, and he just recently followed me on Instagram. I sent him a message to go, hey, what's going on, Josh? Good to hear from you. This was on Thanksgiving night, and he immediately sent me a link to some house in Hollywood that he was trying to sell. I was like, wow, relentless. You're trying to sell me a house on Thanksgiving night after not talking to me in about 5 years. I love it. Anyway, like I said, if you're an easycore fan, definitely check out Settle the Score. Also check out California Kicks, but I think Settle the Score is the album you'll really like. And band number 2, the Acacia Strain. If you're watching this, I'm guessing that you're familiar with the Acacia Strain, but on the off chance that you aren't, basically they were one of the very first bands to do the like super down-tuned, heavy as shit, sludgy deathcore thing way back in 2001. I think their first album came out in 2002, 2003. They've been doing this for a long fucking time. These days, of course, there's a million bands that do that style, but remember, this is over 15, this is almost 20 years ago that they started doing this stuff, and back then it was very uncommon. I can't actually think of anybody else who was doing that, like at least in the kind of hardcore scene. You know, there's probably somebody that I'm not thinking of. The one name I can kind of think of was A Life Once Lost, but they weren't really brutal. They were kind of more like groovy, proggy, genty sort of thing. Very ahead of their time as well, but a little bit different. They weren't just like straight up like kick you in the balls brutality like the Acacia Strain was. In fact, I think you can make a very credible case that the Acacia Strain invented the whole like down-tempo thing that like literally hundreds and hundreds of bands are doing now. And in fact, they actually even kind of did a little bit of genty kind of stuff going back to like 2006. They had a song called Burn Face, which I was listening to and I was like researching this video and I was like, damn, this was really ahead of its time. Like, who else was doing that in 2006? Another thing about these guys that I think they don't get a lot of credit for is their drummer. I don't remember his name, Kevin something or other, but man, that guy is really fucking good, and I don't hear his name come up nearly as often as it should. He's not like super flashy, but he does some like tasteful, subtle stuff that is just like candy to me. Like this one fill from the song Beast, which I've probably listened to like on loop at least 500 times. Anyway, since they came out in 2002, 2003, whenever it was, they just kept getting better and better and bigger with every album. I think Continent, which came out in 2009, I believe, maybe 2008, that to me was the one that like really put them on the map outside of like their little scene. That was the one that I think made a lot of people aware of them. And then Wormwood, which came out in 2010, to me is their peak creatively, and I think it might also be their peak commercially as well. To me, that album is the absolute pinnacle of that style, of that genre. Like, I don't think it's possible to do that style better than they did it on that record. The biggest problem to me with that genre is that there was so much riff salad. And listen, I love salad. I eat salad all the time, but I do not eat riff salad. No riff salad for this guy. The Acacia Strain, especially in that era, on that album, were the exact opposite of that. They were heavy as shit, like great riffs, but catchy. They just had hooks for fucking days in all those songs.
From broken homes, broken hearts and broken bones.
They're right up there with Hatebreed as far as like mosh anthems go. And like I said, to me, Wormwood is really the perfection of that style. It has like the sludgy heaviness of metal with the groove and aggression of hardcore. I think that album is going to go down in history as a classic, especially the song Beast. Like Beast is just the closest thing to the perfect version of that style that I think anybody will ever do. And so with that album, it seemed like they were going to level up and maybe hit that next level of commercial success and be up there with maybe like a Suicide Silence or a Whitechapel. But like I always say in these videos, it just kind of didn't happen. And to be clear, they're by no means a failure. They're a successful band, and this video should not at all be interpreted as like criticism or me saying that they're a failure or anything like that. My question is just, why did they not break into that next tier of commercial success like I thought that they would? Well, to me, the answer is very simple, which is that they lost DL, Daniel Laskowitz, I think is how you say his last name. DL was their original guitarist who wrote all the stuff. He is a very underrated talent. Like when it comes to writing these kind of just like nasty ass fucking mosh riffs, I think he is like the Beethoven of that. Nobody can write or even play those just kind of like nasty, aggressive, sludgy mosh riffs like he can. DL is just the man at that, and after he left the band and stopped writing their songs, I think it just kind of wasn't the same. And don't get me wrong, the new stuff is very good. There's definitely nothing wrong with it. It's just missing that DL magic. To put a finer point on it, I would say it's a little bit more like moody or doomy, sometimes even atmospheric, a little less just like kick you in the fucking balls. And I think that's what people want from the Acacia Strain. They want that like kick you in the balls mosh riff kind of shit. That said, their new stuff is definitely good, and I'm actually happy to see them getting praised by the quote unquote real metal press who like absolutely shit on them for years and years and years. So yes, as you can tell, I'm bitter about this, but I guess it's better late than never, so I'm happy to see places like Decibel and Heavy Blog is Heavy praising these guys finally after all these years.
Throw your hands up into the air and wave them all around like you just don't care.
Band number 3, Blessed by a Broken Heart. And if you're not familiar with them, I guess you would call them a metalcore band, but that's not really accurate. They're really like a semi-ironic 80s like hair metal band with metalcore touches, kind of like the scene Christian version of maybe like Steel Panther. And actually, when I say it like that, it's pretty obvious to me why they didn't get bigger, because they were really fucking weird. As an example of that, watch the video for their song Mike Skills 2, which is from 2007, and it has references to like Technotronic and Mortal Kombat and MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice's Ninja Turtles theme song, Beverly Hills Cop, and a bunch of other stuff that their audience, I think, probably had absolutely no clue about. I'll play a little clip of it, but you really should watch this whole video. It's one of the weirdest and most advanced things I've ever seen. Even though I'm laughing, like I'm not laughing at them, I'm laughing with them because, you know, what they were doing was deliberately ridiculous and over the top, and it was funny. But in all seriousness, these are like really creative, talented guys, and this is a perfect example of a band that deserves so much more credit than they ever got. First of all, they were very early to the like breakdown core thing. Like listen to their first album. This is from 2003 when they were probably little kids. I think they're probably like 16 or 17. First of all, look at this picture of them. It is the most like Scene 1.0 photo of all time. This right here is the definition of Scene 1.0, and this is what they sounded like. Not bad for a bunch of little kids, right? I mean, it kind of sounds like Bleeding Through with a shittier recording, right? They were pretty damn good. But their second album called Pedal to the Metal, which I think came out in 2008, that is where they really came into their own. And to me, that's like the definitive Blessed by a Broken Heart album. For one, they moved in a much more like poppy hair metal kind of direction. They got a new singer, Tony Gambino. And very importantly, they got another guitarist, a guy named Sean Meyer, who I've also been friends with for like 10 years. If you're into shred, definitely check out Sean. He's as legit as it gets. But anyway, as compared to their first album, this is what Pedal to the Metal sounded like.
Go! No! When the world is dead and gone, doing it for the rock. Yeah, for the rock.
In terms of songwriting, this stuff is just head and shoulders above pretty much what anybody else in the genre was doing at that time. It's so catchy, so poppy, so well done, and also just completely fucking ridiculous. But actually, they were getting kind of a lot of traction. They toured with like A Day to Remember and August Burns Red, Architects, Bring Me the Horizon, Devil Wears Prada. They toured with all those bands in like, 2007, 2006, 2008, back when they were all kind of roughly peers. Maybe some of those bands were a little bit bigger than others, but they were all kind of roughly in the same band, and obviously all those other bands leveled up dramatically in the years after that, and Blessed just kind of didn't. So what happened? Well, this one is actually a little bit of a combination of the Fight Fair and Acacia Strain stories. For one, like the Acacia Strain, they lost that crucial member who was kind of the creative driver of the band. Like I said, Frank, the drummer, was the primary songwriter, super good songwriter, and after he left, I think it just wasn't the same. No offense to the other guys in the band, they're all very talented, but nobody else in the band was as good as Frank in terms of writing those like just big, catchy, poppy hooks. And you know, the next album was good, but just not as good as what Frank could do, just the same as the Acacia Strain, I think, was not ever the same after DL left. And second, I think they maybe took the joke stuff a little bit too far. They became a joke band or a novelty band rather than a band like, say, A Day to Remember or Blink-182, who are, you know, funny. They have jokes in their songs, but they're not a joke band, right? I think they just became a little bit too like over the top for anybody to take seriously. This is another band that I've been in touch with over the years, so I can give you a little bit of a where are they now. First of all, Tony Gambino, the singer, has been a successful wedding photographer for years. He specializes in destination weddings, so if that's your jam and you're getting married, you want somebody to shoot your wedding, then give Tony a call. He's great at what he does. Tell him I sent you. And second is Shred Sean Meyer. He's still being Shred Sean, still doing his thing. So if you're into shred guitar, definitely check him out, especially like that old school 80s Reb Beach, Richie Kotzen, kind of like Paul Gilbert, like the peak of the neon colored super strat kind of era. That's Sean's jam. So if that's your jam, check him out, give him a follow on Instagram, and also tell him I sent you. So yeah, if you're interested in Blessed by a Broken Heart, Pedal to the Metal is the album you want to check out. All right, everybody, that does it for this edition of Bands That Should Have Been Bigger. Let me know in the comments what you think of these bands. Tell me if I'm wrong and maybe these bands are more popular than I thought they were. Let me know what bands you think I should include in future installments of this series. And of course, if you like this video or any of my other videos, give me a follow on Instagram. There is a link in the description below. And with that, I'm going to sign off for now, but I will see you next time.